This map shows the number of American citizens living abroad as reported by receiving countries. What you can see is the 13 most populated countries by American expats. And as you can see, Mexico tops the list, with almost 800,000 Americans living in Mexico. But what's surprising is that even if you were to combine the next top 5 countries with the largest American population, the total would still not surpass the number of people living in Mexico. So, what makes Mexico such an attractive destination for Americans? And why are so many Americans leaving the United States for it? In the eyes of many, Mexico has been portrayed as a nation plagued by poverty and crime. Television series like Narcos Mexico have only amplified these stereotypes, focusing more on the nation's challenges rather than its strengths and rich diversity. However, first-hand experiences often paint a different picture, a reality many Americans are starting to appreciate.
Mexico City is a 3-ring circus, and I love it.
And ridiculously cool condos for ridiculously low rents.
The price of gas is now much cheaper in Mexico than it is in the United States. And that's why so many Californians are now driving across the border to fill their cars.
A growing number of Americans are crossing the southern border and making Mexico City their new home. The reason? Well, remote work and cheaper living costs. Local residents in Mexico City say Americans are bringing in gentrification and are driving up everyday costs for Mexicans.
Currently, most of them are drawn to the warmth, vibrant culture, and sense of community that Mexico offers. Even with the country's higher crime rates compared to the US, many Americans don't seem discouraged from making it their new home. In fact, data from the US State Department shows that around 1.6 million Americans now call Mexico home, making them the largest immigrant group in Mexico and the largest American community abroad. Interestingly, many of these expatriates reside near Guadalajara in western Mexico. So, what's driving this trend? Well, Mexico offers various attractions and experiences that cater to multiple preferences. Apart from its affordable cost of living and laid-back lifestyle, the country has a mix of vibrant towns, upscale resorts, numerous beaches, and world-class diving and snorkeling. Moreover, its breathtaking landscapes and the impressive architecture of the historic colonial cities add to its appeal. So, whether you prefer warm weather with a constant sea breeze or a cooler environment with a scenic view, Mexico has something for you. That's why so many Americans are drawn to it. What usually stands out to foreigners about Mexican people is their welcoming nature. From the moment they step onto Mexican soil, they are often struck by its residents' genuine warmth and hospitality. Get this, it's not some rehearsed or occasional display of kindness, but a natural part of daily life and interactions. This consistent open-heartedness creates an accepting atmosphere that makes even newcomers feel like they've always been a part of the community. What shapes this culture is Mexican society's strong sense of community. And it's not just limited to family members. This bond also extends to neighbors and the broader community. For instance, major life events, whether they're joyful or sorrowful, are rarely experienced in isolation. Instead, these events are inclusive, and Mexicans welcome foreigners to participate. For Americans, who might be used to a more individualistic way of life, the sense of unity and shared experiences found in Mexican society can be particularly captivating and fascinating. What's more, living in Mexico offers a significant financial advantage for many Americans, especially given the rising cost of living in the US. This increase is felt in various areas, from housing and food to utilities and taxes, all while many incomes aren't rising at the same rate. This can be particularly burdensome for those on fixed incomes. Yet, for Americans considering a move south of the border, Mexico offers a more enticing financial reprieve, since the overall cost of living is about 45% cheaper than in the US. And on top of that, the favorable exchange rates between the US dollar and the Mexican peso greatly enhances the buying power of the dollar in Mexico. This means a salary that may seem modest in the US can provide a relatively comfortable, if not luxurious, life in Mexico. Most daily expenses, be it electricity bills, dining out, transport, or internet, are considerably lower in Mexico compared to the US. Take housing, for example. Renting an apartment in a prime area in Mexico City might cost around $500 per month. In contrast, a similar apartment in New York City could easily be 4 or 5 times that amount. And, as far as home ownership, owning a home in the US has become increasingly expensive over the past decade. Property taxes, often influenced by the value of the house and the community it's situated in, have risen at rates exceeding inflation. This means that, over time, homeowners are shelling out a substantial percentage of their incomes just to cover these taxes. Likewise, the costs associated with property maintenance have surged, making the upkeep of a home quite a financial challenge.
Never-ending nightmares as the time and cost to complete them just continue to rise.
In contrast, Mexico offers a more affordable option for homeowners. The property taxes are relatively lower, and the overall maintenance costs are less expensive than in the US. This can be attributed to 2 main factors. Firstly, the price of materials is generally lower, and secondly, labor costs for house-related services are more budget-friendly. This allows homeowners in Mexico to maintain their properties without the financial burden often experienced in the US. Moreover, regarding transportation, Mexico is largely walkable, with pedestrian-friendly streets and ample sidewalks. But there are also different modes of public transportation available, depending on the town's size. For instance, if you're staying in a touristy city like Cancun, you can use the bus to get around. A single bus trip is quite affordable, at 50 cents. But those who use the service regularly can opt for a monthly pass, which ranges between $14 and $17. If you live in a smaller town, you may have to walk or use a bicycle to get around. For those who prefer a quicker option, taxis are readily available. A typical taxi ride starts with a base fare of $2.18, with an additional charge of $1.10 for every kilometer after. And let's not forget the affordable yet high-quality healthcare system in Mexico. Compared to the US, routine medical care, specialist services, and prescription medications are significantly cheaper. This affordability is one of the reasons why approximately 1 million Americans make their way to Mexico each year for medical and dental procedures. As reported by Patients Without Borders, these individuals save anywhere from 40 to 65% on their medical bills. For instance, a doctor's visit could cost you as little as $3 to $4, and $20 to $35 for a specialist, and $30 for competent and efficient dental services. The same applies to medicines, most of which are manufactured in Mexico. For instance, you can get prescription antibiotic refills for as little as $11. With such huge differences in cost, it doesn't come as a surprise that most Americans needing medical care for specific long-term conditions often opt to relocate to Mexico permanently, rather than making repeated trips across the border. And, as for the weather, the country enjoys generous amounts of sunshine throughout the year, giving it a consistent tropical and summery feel. This year-round warmth, especially prominent in its coastal regions, is perfect for beach lovers. And it's no secret that most Americans love beaches. The average temperature of Mexico's coastal areas varies from 24 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius. On the other hand, the interior cities and highland regions have cooler temperatures, but not as cold as the United States. During the day, temperatures in these highland areas linger between 17 degrees Celsius and 22 degrees Celsius. However, once the sun sets, the temperatures can drop as low as 7 degrees Celsius. So, if you enjoy a consistently moderate climate, Mexico's central highland regions are ideal. However, coastal cities like Puerto Vallarta, Tulum, and Playa del Carmen promise an idyllic tropical experience if you prefer basking in the sun beside clear waters with a drink in hand. Furthermore, unlike the US, beachfront properties are affordable in many places across Mexico. Though the country is often associated with a warm climate, it does have areas with cooler temperatures. One such place is San Miguel de Allende, which enjoys milder winters owing to its elevation of 6,200 feet above sea level. As stated earlier, in Mexico, there's literally something for everyone. And regarding the most important necessity, food, you can expect to spend a lot less without compromising quality or flavor. Whether you're cooking at home or treating yourself at a restaurant, Mexico offers an enticing culinary experience. One significant factor contributing to this affordability is the country's favorable agricultural conditions. These conditions ensure a steady supply of fresh and nutritious produce available at affordable prices. Of course, you can also find fresh foods in the United States, but they often have a higher price tag than processed alternatives. However, in Mexico, eating healthily doesn't necessarily mean spending more. For those keen on cooking at home, local markets and international supermarket chains, like Walmart, offer a wide range of products at budget-friendly prices. It's entirely possible for someone to purchase a week's worth of groceries for merely $25. And this affordability is a blessing for budget-conscious individuals and families. When dining out, options are abundant and light on the pocket. For instance, a simple meal at a local eatery might cost you about $8, but you can find street food like quesadillas and tacos for way less, as little as $1 to $3. Other budget-friendly options include combo meals or pizzas priced between $6 and $7. For those occasions when one wishes to indulge, a 3-course meal at a mid-level restaurant typically costs around $33 for 2 people. The remote working trend is another significant factor encouraging Americans to relocate to Mexico. An increasing number of companies now provide the flexibility to work from virtually anywhere, and a considerable fraction of the American workforce has embraced this new model. Given this freedom, many are looking beyond US borders for a change of scenery, even temporarily, and Mexico stands out as a favored destination due to several factors. Firstly, the time zones in Mexico largely mirror those in the US, making it easier for remote workers to coordinate with their teams back home without battling drastic time differences. Additionally, the geographical proximity of Mexico to the US facilitates easy and quick travel, be it for business or personal visits. Many Americans have familial or social ties back home, and living in Mexico doesn't make them feel too distant. This close proximity gives them the emotional comfort of knowing home isn't continents away. So, whether it's catching a direct flight to numerous US cities or taking a scenic drive across the border, accessibility is an added bonus. For digital nomads, freelancers, and other remote professionals, Mexico offers more than a beautiful tropical climate and a lower cost of living. It provides the convenience of staying connected to their US roots while enjoying the benefits of a different environment. Lastly, the straightforward visa process in Mexico greatly simplifies the relocation process for many Americans. Mexico provides ample time for newcomers to organize their financial affairs, offering a grace period that extends up to 4 years. Additionally, Mexico offers a business visitor visa, or investor visa, for those looking to engage in business ventures or investments in the country. This visa category allows individuals to stay in Mexico for up to 180 days if they demonstrate sufficient financial means or intent to invest in a local business. Retirees, too, have a special provision. The retirement visa is tailored for those at least 55 years old and with a steady monthly income of $15,000 or more. While media reports often highlight safety concerns in Mexico due to drug cartels and related issues, many Americans continue to visit and relocate there without noteworthy incidents. Destinations like San Miguel de Allende and Mexico City remain popular among American travelers and expatriates. Although the US State Department advises caution when traveling in Mexico, they also emphasize that millions visit the country safely every year. Remarkably, Several states in Mexico, including Mexico City, Nuevo León, Michoacán, Guerrero, Querétaro, and Yucatán, have witnessed a decline in crime rates and violence. Tourist spots like Zihuatanejo Ixtapa are generally considered safe. However, it's always wise for travelers to avoid isolated areas at night and be cautious in crowded places during peak seasons due to potential criminal activity. So, while many regions in Mexico face security issues, a large portion of the country remains hospitable and secure for tourists and residents alike. Through their personal experiences and diligent research, numerous Americans have come to realize that they can have a rewarding and safe experience in Mexico. And this has partly contributed to the rising trend of Americans considering Mexico as a second home. While the influx of Americans has brought about certain economic benefits, it hasn't been without concerns among the local population. Some locals have expressed reservations about the changing dynamics of their cities, especially with the increased presence of expatriates. A noticeable impact is the upward surge in rent prices and the boom in short-term rentals. The more affluent newcomers, in some cases, are unintentionally displacing locals, leading to feelings of discontent among Mexicans who find themselves priced out of their own neighborhoods. This growing disparity has given rise to public criticism, with some locals voicing their concerns about increasing inequality due to gentrification. Yet, some locals believe that the arrival of foreigners, particularly those with a considerable disposable income, has benefited the economy. They argue that areas populated by foreigners have seen a financial uplift, as these newcomers tend to spend more. Some might perceive moving out of America as disloyal to your country, or even unpatriotic. However, for many individuals, the move is not about turning their backs on their homeland, but seeking new opportunities and experiences. They yearn for something different, yet they want a place close enough to the US to make returning convenient. This desire isn't about abandoning safety or familiar comforts, but balancing the thrill of new experiences and maintaining a sense of security. Mexico has risen in popularity as a destination for these reasons. Its appeal lies in the lower cost of living, the inviting climate, and the promise of a laid-back lifestyle. While there are inherent challenges when settling in a new country, numerous Americans testify that the benefits they reap in Mexico are well worth the initial hurdle.